a Blue Beetle review.
I want you to go first today.
You want me to go first?
And I'm going to talk after you're done.
So, just for some context, Blue Beetle is allegedly. I'm sure they're going to throw it away immediately. Allegedly the first movie in the new rebooted DCU. Not because James Gunn wanted this movie, but because it was already coming out and he really didn't have a choice. Are you going to go see a movie where he's like, yeah, this one doesn't count?
No,
but they're not going to see it.
Which is why I'm not seeing Aquaman.
No. Supposedly, first predictions is going to make below 30 million opening weekend on a budget of 150. This was initially a HBO Max release.
Yeah.
That they were like, nah, we got confidence in this. And to be fair,
they should have.
Yeah. CG's great. On the whole, I'll say the CG was great. The characterization was great to a point. The casting, I thought, was phenomenal. George Lopez had no fucking right being that funny.
So fucking good. So everyone talks about George Lopez and loves his TV show and everything, and how everybody has the same fucking memory, waking up at like 3 a.m. to his song. I didn't have that. I never watched that. I didn't watch George Lopez.
Really?
I know of his jokes. I've heard his comedy before, like to his comedy's
pretty good too.
To a small extent.
And he had Lopez tonight.
But I'm not really a big. I don't know a whole lot about George Lopez. So seeing him in that movie, I was crying. Yeah, I was laughing pretty hard.
It's not even about the fascist part either.
They didn't put that in.
Yes, they did.
I didn't hear it in the movie.
Heard it.
Oh, did you? Damn.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I thought they took it out because like the Flash didn't do that well, so they were trying to distance it from Batman.
Really? I didn't hear that at all.
That was my assumption because I didn't hear the Batman. I didn't hear him say the Batman thing.
No, I heard him say it.
Okay.
It was when they were in the Blue Beetle room.
Yeah, I didn't get that was the Blue Beetle room at first. I thought that was just his garage. I'm like, why does he have the original suit?
I'm so tired, right?
What do you think?
Let me transfer it to you over my mind sphere. So, but I think
welcome to the podcast.
I'm so fucking tired, right? Because in comics, there's so many different versions of these heroes. I'm so tired of them going, oh, we're gonna make this movie about this version, but it's always like, I'm the first Superman. I've existed the whole time, or I'm the first Batman. Why can't they do what Blue Beetle did? Blue Beetle was like, yeah, he didn't have the scare, but there's been a Blue Beetle already.
It's called Ant-Man.
Fuck, you're right. All right, I take it back. So the story, basically, if you want to boil it down, it's guy gets cool things gives guy superpowers. Guy has to save girl he likes. Guy fights a guy who's the same thing but red.
A tale as old as time.
A tale as old as time. That was good. I think I didn't love it as much as you did. I thought the acting was very shoddy. Even though I think people were cast awesome, I think the main guy, whoever was playing Blue Beetle, who I know was from Cobra Kai, I thought his acting was incredibly shoddy at specific times.
Really?
Yes, I think the sister
was terrible.
Depending on the scene, was aggressively annoying.
I remember when they were sitting, she was the most, because like in the beginning she was just a dick.
Yes.
Like she was just, there was nothing like that. And then they were just like, oh, I'm nicer now. It's like, but you didn't.
There was no character. There was no arc here. You just went from one side to the other.
I found a cool Robo Glove and I'm good now.
Robo Glove is cool.
Yeah. But when they were sitting on the roof towards the beginning of the film where he's like, I'm going to be something. I'm like,
not
what?
Good.
It seemed like they were in two separate rooms and he was just like, I'm going to do this. And she's like, yeah, I feel like that too.
And I can't wait to do whatever it is that you just
said. I'm like, who are you? I'm like, are they talking on the phone or something? And it panned out and they were sitting next to each other. I'm like, what the fuck's happening?
You're like, oh, this is a fucking lie.
The only other problem with the acting I had was
it the Nana?
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't stand her in the first half.
The first half. In the second half, I loved her.
Yeah, she was great. But she got the big gun?
The big gun.
Was great.
And also, I'm like, why are they making this dumb old lady really good at this? And it was like, clearly she was a revolutionary. And I'm like, no, I love that. I love that.
I'm perfectly... It's funny because in the beginning, it kind of felt forced. Yes. Of them just being like, look, it's Nana. Nana does this stuff. And she's like, I'm a Nana. I do these things.
Yeah.
And then in the end, you're like, look, Nana's got a big gun. And she's like, actually, I'm fighting the
Nana may have been a communist. I don't...
I don't know. Who could have known? What did you think of the story?
Okay. I'm just going to go off now.
Okay. He's like, I was holding it back as long as I could.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that this was an amazing superhero movie. No. I'm not going to say that it was perfect in any way.
No.
But I will say it did all the things that I've wanted a superhero movie to do over the past several years, where every time I'm like, they could have did this, but they didn't, and it's whatever, and they did it.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it phenomenally, but it was perfectly fine, and because of what we got lately, I was so excited to just get a nice superhero film.
Yes.
And
something
that's
different.
why I liked it so much. It didn't have the same vibe as Disney. It was way bright. It managed to be brighter and happy and have quips and jokes and not feel like a Disney film.
Exactly.
And I loved it.
And it wasn't filmed in the volume.
It wasn't. I had some Saints Row vibes from the city, which is also cool.
100%.
Because I fucking love those games.
I never played 'em.
Oh, so good. Except for the most recent one, which I still finished in 100%ed.
Anyway.
But I love that. I got some vibes of. I saw some resemblances of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in a bit more of some of the grounded things in it, and like.
I could see where the comparisons are coming from of Spider-Man.
The realness of, like, I wanted to call her Sigourney Weaver. What's her name?
Susan Sarandon.
Yeah, Susan Sarandon.
Hated her.
She was not that good, but the thing I will so give them is something that superheroes have avoided so much is the villain. Oh no, they're just gonna kind of die and do whatever, or oh no, they're gonna be redeemed, or it's gonna happen off screen or whatever. And like, it did happen off screen, but she got dragged kicking and screaming into fire, and they got blown the fuck up.
Yep.
That was satisfying.
Yes, it was.
It's not usually satisfying.
No.
And even though they didn't kill the big main guy, who also was just Doom guy, which was awesome.
Yes, exactly. The action was cool.
The action
he was incredibly spotty.
Great. He was all the acting was spotty.
Yes.
And I will give it that. But then the other thing I saw was it was early Marvel hints as well, which I love so much, where it was much more grounded in what they were doing. It was the I'm gonna fight myself but evil.
Oh, you mean the multiverse wasn't at stake in this fucking movie?
No, but I'm talking about like Phase 1 Marvel, like where it's just like I'm Tony Stark and I'm gonna fight another guy in Iron Man armor.
See, that was it's a cliche that people grew to hate. But I loved it.
Now it's nice.
I was fine with it.
Because it works.
But it's also, if you do it wrong, it sucks.
Yes.
Iron Man is a great example of good. Black Panther, to me, in the fight scene, not good.
Well, no, the fight was fine. It was the fact that it was CG. The story and the opposite
the story's great.
Worked fine.
How many times have there been...
Iron Man 2. Iron Man 3. Captain America.
That was good.
Or Hulk.
Hulk was good, too.
Black Panther.
No, Killmonger's pretty good.
Captain Marvel.
That wasn't very good.
It happens a lot.
It does.
It happens a lot.
Which is funny because you keep naming all of them, but not a single one was I like, no, that's bad. Except maybe Captain Marvel.
We were getting a little annoyed by like, why is everyone the exact same thing? But then we didn't have it for 3 or 4 years. I'm like, they did it again. Thank God. Thank God.
WandaVision.
Oh, WandaVision. Yeah. But they also
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
But because it wasn't.
Miss Marvel.
It was nice. It was almost nostalgic in a way, even though it was for something that was like 10, because like the Tobey movies, I said it reminded me of. Those are like 20 years old now.
They are.
Iron Man 1, 15 years old.
Stop.
Like,
you remember when they were like, look, Marvel Studios 10.
Yeah.
That was 5 years ago.
Yeah. And because of that, they're bringing some things back from that.
Yes.
And that's what I think this needed. DC was trying to constantly be like, well, they're here, so we should be here. No, do what they did.
Do your own fucking thing.
Start down here and then branch it out in your own way.
See, and now you got James Gunn who's like, no, I'm going to start from scratch. It's a Superman, but Superman's been around.
And a whole bunch of other heroes have as well. And you know what? I like that, because that's how every animated fucking movie starts.
Into the universe.
The DC universe has always just been like, here are the heroes.
Yeah.
Here's what they do.
We don't necessarily need an origin
story. Know who Superman is, you know who Wonder Woman is, you know who Batman is.
It's just a very fine line in doing it.
Yeah.
There are some origin stories, like this one, I think is perfectly fine. It wasn't like, I need to become a hero.
Like, they kind of did it at the beginning of The Flash, where they're like, Batman's here, Wonder Woman's here, The Flash is here.
Yeah.
And
which is great.
It kind of worked, but
that's
then
also
it didn't matter.
That's not the first one.
No, but they also usually do that in the animated films. But then the heroes they introduce at the beginning, where they're like, "I'm here" and "I'm here," usually come back at some point. None of them did.
Nope.
It was a different Batman. Wonder Woman's just gone.
You hear that Gal Gadot was like, "Ah, man, we're working on 3," and then James Gunn was like,
"No, we're not."
I'm taking that away.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's going to be a reboot.
Because people were so mad. They're like, "You got rid of Henry Cavill, but kept Gal Gadot."
He was like, "No, we didn't. Nah, nobody's staying." You know what's fucking
I'm
great
really
about this
excited
movie?
for his stuff.
The best part of this movie, to me, is the suit, because it's practical. It's a real thing that has real textures.
It was weird.
Not, I need wrinkles in my suit. What?
It was really weird at first, because it's been so long since we've had a practical suit. Part of me was just like, I don't like it. But then as it was going on and everything, I really liked it. I only had 2 genuine problems with it. Both of them involved the mouth. and they actually solved it at the beginning, but then ditched it at the end.
What?
It's not just a suit; it's in him. It's part of him, and when he's forming, you see it go into his mouth. It turns it black or whatever. Yeah. Yet whenever he opens his mouth, it still works like an Iron Man jaw, almost, where it just kind of barely does whatever. A little bit. But you got enough emotion in it, so I hope if they do get a sequel or if there's anything else, I hope that it opens up a little bit more. They accentuate it a little bit more.
The only problem I had, I like the like antenna things.
Yeah.
I don't want them around 24/7.
They got rid of them halfway through, and then they came back out when he was fighting.
I don't like it.
I enjoyed it, because it's part of his thing and everything. He's got the backpack, he's got whatever. But my main problem was they did the Spider-Man thing and the Iron Man thing where they broke half of his mask, and you see his face.
Yes.
But they didn't.
That looked like shit.
Because the eyes were two separate spots, and because it went too low, you could see into his mouth, and the suit was no longer part of his mouth. It was just his face in a suit, which doesn't make sense compared to what they established earlier. That was my only actual flaw with the movie. But like I said earlier, every time I'm like, oh, they did this, but I would have really did that and whatever. They didn't do it when I said it, but then 5 minutes later it happened.
They did, yes.
So every single time, it was just...
The suit also looks phenomenal when he takes the mask off.
Yeah.
And because he looks... It doesn't look like some weird giant thing. It doesn't look like a CG fucking silk fucking piece of... I'm trying to think of the word. Piece of clothing.
Yeah.
It has... There's life to it. It feels like a genuine suit because he's actually wearing it. He's not wearing... fucking motion capture dots.
Yeah.
He's like, man, look at this thing that took me like 4 hours to get into. I love it.
Also, like, I don't know if it's just because it was like a Spanish family and they had a wacky uncle, but I got a lot of Spy Kids vibes.
I got the vibes too.
Especially with the giant bug thing.
Lopez was in Spy Kids.
Was he?
Oh no, he was in Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Yeah, no, Danny Trejo. Was the crazy uncle that I was thinking of, and I kind of enjoyed that. But there was also like one part that really annoyed me, where they committed to having the Spanish in the movie, but then there was one part where they decided not to put subtitles at all,
mom was talking
and they were just talking. I'm like, if you're going to commit to this, make it
the entire time.
Make it worth my while. What are they
choose when it's going to be on there and when it's not?
Like, if you're going to talk, make it worth something. Because clearly, since they didn't put subtitles, did not matter to the story. I have no idea what they said, and it doesn't. If you're going to speak in Spanish and do whatever, add to it. Why? Like, you just put filler talking in the background because I don't understand Spanish. You just put voices for no reason.
I think so. There's two gripes that I have with this movie. Two other gripes, right? I would say, as somebody who is, that's very different for filling an entire glass of, but it tastes.
Yeah, that's good.
As someone of Spanish heritage, it's very nice to have representation on the big screen like this with a superhero and everything. Not because I'm like trying to be a fucking warrior or whatever, but because it's just nice to not have it feel like pandering. It didn't feel like pandering. It felt overblown to a certain extent. I'm all for, maybe it's not even the Spanish part of it or the representation. It's the family. It's the same fucking problem I have with the Fast and Furious movies. There is a line. I am totally understanding if you're like, man, this is about, and you have a whole monologue. Great. I get it. You're trying to hit a certain demographic. Good for you. In the middle of the movie, there was a moment where he came back and he was crying to his mom. He's like, Mama, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she's like, you got to go fuck him up because we're Spanish. And he was like, that's right. I was like, that's right. And then he went back out and fought for 30 seconds and had another fucking monologue
where he's like,
with his uncle and with his sister. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then his uncle, quote unquote, died. And he had another fucking monologue yelling at the red dude about his family.
I got a positive and a negative out of this.
Okay.
No one was from the fucking Bronx or Brooklyn. The bad one was he was just like at the end the lab guy was like, my name's not Sanchez, it's whatever. And then
I love that.
But he didn't. It wasn't badass. It was supposed to be a badass moment. And he's like, this is my name. I'm going to hit this door and then I'm going to die. And I'm like...
No, that felt badass to me.
It felt short-lived. It took away from it.
I would say the problem was that it was short-lived. I will agree to that. But I think him saying his full name like that, I love that a lot.
Yeah. Well,
that's most of my relatives.
And what is it? My name is Esteban, fucking the whole thing from Zack and Cody.
I have no idea. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I could never remember.
No one does. I don't even think that guy knows anymore. That was the point. But like, also, I love the fact that she kept calling him Sanchez the entire time, and he had like 6 names, but not one of them was Sanchez. Like, I thought that she was just shortening, and he's like, no, this is my name. No, none of them were Sanchez. She just did not give a fuck.
She's just being...
racist, yeah.
Yes. I'm gonna say, what do we give it? Oh no, it was great, it was bad, or it's all right, I guess. Yeah. Overrated is fucking my opinion. 3, 2, 1.
It was great.
It's all right, I guess.
It was great.
Overrated as fuck is my opinion. Which is basically, it's all right.
There's one other thing that I want to know, which I don't like. I said it reminded me of Saints Row a little bit.
Yes.
It was the very futuristic city kind of thing and whatever.
Right next to the slums.
I want to know if the way that it looked and the aesthetic of some of that and some of the explosions or whatever was James Gunn coming in and going, okay,
no, this movie's been done for ages.
But I feel like he had to have one more pass where he's like, if this is going to work in my universe, I kind of need some things to look a certain way. So I don't know if they tweaked anything, and I want.
Well, it could also just be an inspiration thing because Guardians of the Galaxy, the entire trilogy has had this fucking impact on superhero movies in general and action movies. I would say I doubt it. That movie's been in production for so long. Even so, maybe he did have a little input because I don't believe the fact that the movie was here and then it was whatever and then post production and then James Gunn showed up here and then it released.
Yeah,
I'd much more believe that it was like production, post production. James Gunn shows up and then in post leading up to it, he's like, well, maybe we could tweak this a little bit.
The only other thing, like with the influence or whatever, is the commercial aspect of it, which I didn't even notice till Timmy pointed it out.
What do you mean?
That the entire thing was a Toyota Tacoma.
Oh my god, we were talking about it yesterday. We think it's just because the car market has been shit. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason that movies like this and Barbie are just car commercials.
Because they all are. Just fucking Wolverine was driving Audi and whatever. Like,
it's never this apparent.
Every single time someone fucking strolls in and they're like, it's mine.
It zooms in on the car.
It zooms in on the logo of the car and it's like in the fucking hood and it's whatever. With this, I didn't even know it was a Toyota Tacoma because he kept calling it the Taco the entire time. And then at the end, they're like, here's your new Toyota Tacoma in bright Blue Beetle blue. And even he was just like, does it have to be? And I'm like, yeah, okay.
The only reason I will agree that at first I didn't feel like the commercial until they were like, oh, we got you this car. And then it zoomed in and then it held there for a second.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. Move on. Okay. The one that sucked for me was Barbie. Because in Barbie, I don't know if you saw like the whatever commercial. I don't remember the car company. But the car commercial is literally her jumping into the car driving off. And I would think like, oh, this part's from the movie, her jumping in, and then the rest of it is filmed for whatever. Yeah. No. The entire commercial is part of the Barbie movie where they go, she's jumping in. Oh, look at this car. Look at this car. I hate that shit.
Yeah. It's too much.
The worst, I think.
You know who does the best?
Who?
Mike Myers.
The worst product placement I've ever seen. There's two. One is in, I think, Transformers, the second one, where a Mountain Dew machine transforms, and it's like, I'm Mountain Dew. And two, do you remember in Infinity War, when Spider-Man's flying and he's trying to stop Ebony Maw, and he's grabbing Doctor Strange, and he has him all tied up?
Yeah.
And he's flying through, and then Ebony Maw throws something at him, and he lands on it, and then he flies away, and on the floor it says Rocket Mortgage.
Does it?
And it lands there for a second. I was like, this is the worst fucking thing. It's such a good movie.
You know what's even more blatant than that?
What?
The Transformers or Barbie movie with Transformers and Barbie in them.
What? Oh, yeah.
They're just commercials.
They're just toy commercials from a toy company?
All of it is now.
I can't wait for the Nerf movie.
That happening?
But yeah, Mattel says they want to make a universe.
But, like, is it just going to be a war movie, but all the guns on the side are going to be like, it's Nerf, and then, like, you're going to get it, and it's going to be a phone, or is it going to be like, hey, let's have a Nerf war? Stupid.
It'll be like, Nerf is an acronym.
Nerf, Neurological Enhancement, Firing...
Wait. Nerf. You forgot the
Neurological Enhancing Rifle Firearm.
There you go. That's fine.
What does it actually stand for? Because it's got to already be an acronym.
I don't want to know. Nerf for nothing. So, on a budget of 150, Blue Beetle's estimating 27 million, finally knocking Barbie down.
Okay. But did you hear about Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer's the highest grossing movie to never go number one.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's great. But 700 million on a budget of what, 100? 150? That's amazing.
Yeah. You know what I found out the other day?
What did you find out the other day?
That Christopher Nolan was involved in the first Man of Steel movie.
I could see that.
Because he did so well with the Dark Knight trilogy, it was supposed to be like, well, we're going to do the same grounded thing.
Yeah, Batman vs. Superman wasn't supposed to have Ben Affleck. It was supposed to be Christian Bale.
Yeah.
He just didn't want to come back.
Been so good, though.
It would have been.
It would have been so good.
But it would have been very different.
And you know damn well he wouldn't have been like Martha. He would have been like, I'm going to fucking stab you.
He would have done this.
Could you imagine if Jesse Eisenberg and Heath Ledger's Joker were in the same universe? That was the other problem with that. You had the best Joker and he was dead. You couldn't really move forward with that. You couldn't. And you kind of always have to bring that back.
You know what's really funny is that they didn't... There was rumors of a Heath Ledger Joker cameo in The Flash. Can you imagine?
I would have been upset.
Everybody would have been upset.
I would have been so upset.
People are so upset about what turned down now. Yeah. Can you imagine?
I would have been like, oh my god, Tim. And then afterwards, I would have been like, that's a little fucked up.
That's exactly what happened with... What's his name? Not Christopher Reeves. George Reeves. The original Superman in the black and white. Yeah. He was miserable because of that role. He, like, committed suicide.
Yeah.
And they were like...
And there's a Superman curse, so...
Yeah.
So, like, also Christopher Reeves, paralyzed from the neck down and is now dead, I think.
And Eminem fucking dragged him through the mud.
What?
A lot of songs about him.
Christopher Reeve.
Yes.
What's the beef?
A lot of weird lines. I don't know.
You don't fuck Superman, man. He deserved to get paralyzed by the fucking horse. Like, what beef could he have?
I don't know. It's very strange.